Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today? How's the world going in League of Legends? All you League of Legends fans out there? Is it going wild or not? I don't really know. I hear there's been a lot of crazy upsets and unpredictable results, which I suppose in the end don't really matter all too much to me. The only sense it matters is the fact that in League of Legends, Riot, the creator of League of Legends, the company have made like these fantasy picks sort of things where you can predict who's going to come out top of each group and the order and who's going to win it in the end, and you get points based on that. My picks are not very good, I'll say at the end of that day. So hello everyone, right now in Fawnhallow it's 3:33 PM on Monday, October 18th, 2021. No news today, so we'll go about our usual business. Yeah, if you don't know, there's group stages in the LoL Worlds tournament, I don't know what it's called, tournament, and then you can pick, like, there's 4 groups of 4, you can pick the order of the rankings, and you get points based on how it happens. Listen up, dear. Making easy sounds money, right? Well, it's never that easy. Some folks like to look like they're sailing through life might be working real hard behind the scenes. No shortcuts, kiddo. Not joking, Apollo. Honestly, just good advice. Or good... I guess it's advice. And I think about it, I'm not really sure. We're just going to go with our usual Nook mission farming. I see. Sahara, you are our visitor today. Do we have a purchasing Nook mission? Yeah, so the results so far have been apparently quite, I'm not sure erratic is the right word, but unpredictable, perhaps compared to previous years. I mean, to be fair, for the past like 5 years, all of them have been quite unpredictable to me because I don't exactly know the teams anymore. I just sort of look at the teams, because I still do the predictions anyway, just for fun of it. I'm like, do I recognise this team name? Yes, no. Okay, put them higher up if I do, put them lower down if I don't. I was like, is this a Korean team or Chinese team? Put them up top or something. But apparently it's been pretty wild. I'm not going to give any spoilers. You can look for yourself, I suppose, if you've been following. But if you haven't been following, I suppose, like, you probably don't care. So perhaps I shouldn't be so worried about the spoilers. But I always think that's a fun idea, like trying to do these predictions about something. It's all the more fun when you're even, I suppose, more into the situation, right? Sorry, slight pause there. Yeah, doing these like wild prediction things. Oh, Tank, you sat down. What are you doing? How dare you? What can we do? We have a lot of stuff to sell, so I said, oh, Tank stood up. Quick, go, get him, get him, get him. Can't run from us. I think we'll pick up seashells and sell them and then do Sahara stuff. But yeah, doing these wild predictions is all the more fun when you're like actually invested. Well, not even invested, but you are knowledgeable, I suppose, about the situation which happens. I guess it really only happens in sports, to be honest, right? Sports, esports, and the things along those lines. I mean, it has happened in competitions, right? You can't really... I mean, I guess you can predict things like what's going to happen in the next episode of, you know, in a TV series or movie series, etc., etc. But I don't know. That feels like it's not really the same sort of stakes. Not the stakes per se. And more like the same. Oh, I forgot about shooting star fall thing yesterday, didn't I? I just remembered now. Oh well. What am I going to do about it? Nothing really. It doesn't really feel like the same sort of thing to me. Predicting what's going to happen next in a TV show rather than what's going to happen next in a sports tourney or something like that. I suppose it's because the sports tourney feels a lot more concrete. I suppose exactly what happens. Like, there's no like ambiguous, oh, it kind of happened like this, is like this team won, this team performed this or whatever. Apparently everyone on our island is out and about today. That's pretty exciting. Excuse me. I mean, that's why this whole thing's like fantasy sports. I'm not sure if I talked about this before, like fantasy football, which I participated in back in primary school, and you might be like, really? You? Don't you know literally nothing about football? And by the way, this football is in European football, so, you know, soccer, if you're American. You might be like, you? Really? Don't you know literally nothing about football? And the answer is, yeah, I didn't. Like, I participated in fantasy football. I was in year 2, I think. Basically, like, a leaflet thing was given out, and it cost like £5 to sign up, and you had this form to fill in, and it was given to everyone, and I was like, okay, sure, I'll do this. I don't really know what it is, but I'll do it anyway. And it was just like I remember, like, you had to choose like from a list of footballers or whatever, and you had to be like, oh, you know, I'll select this footballer, this one, and they all cost like different points. Like, I remember Wayne Rooney was on there, and he cost the most at that time, I think. Was Beckham on there? I can't remember. It was ages ago. 2000. What year would that have been? 2000 and... Let's see. In year 2, I would have been 7, so 2004? or something. I don't know, if you're an actual soccer fan or football fan, you can certainly check that for yourself. But I will say, I participated in fantasy football. Amusingly, I didn't actually know what fantasy football was. I didn't realise this was based off actual things. Like, you might think, what the heck are you talking about? You didn't realise it was based off actual football or something? Kind of, no. What I thought it was basically like, people just did like random simulations or whatever based off fantasy football, but they did random simulations like in like a video game or something like that. But they just used the names of the famous footballers, so there'd be sort of like a brand identity, I suppose, which goes along with it. I didn't actually realise what it was based off was basically their performance in the actual like football, like the Premier League or whatever, the Champions League. I honestly don't know the difference between them. One, I think Premier League is a higher one, right? I didn't know it was actually based off the performances in those sort of events. I thought it was literally just all made up. Like, I imagined, I suppose, in my mind, it was just like some person with a big computer being like, right, well, everything's submitted, we'll just sort of run the simulation, and it's sort of like placing bets. It's sort of like Food Club from Neobets, you know, just like arbitrary simulated bets and that sort of thing, which you might be like, hey, that kind of sounds like gambling. And I'm not sure they promote gambling to like 6-year-olds or whatever, and you know, you got a good point. But the only reason I signed up for first place, they were like, some students in the class above me came to our class and talked about it, and it was like, oh, you should participate, it's a lot of fun if you like football and that sort of thing. And they were like, this is so dumb now I'm thinking about it, but for signing up you'll get this free hacky sack, and in my mind I was like, oh, I want a hacky sack, so I signed up for it. I didn't even know what a hacky sack was, and by the way, could not hacky sack and still have never tried hacky sack. I guess I also didn't know what hacky sack was. It was just like, this is a toy, I want it, I guess. So I signed up for it. It was fairly cheap, so you know, it's not like a huge decision I had to do. I don't know, used my pocket money, I assume, to sign up, but I don't really remember. But I basically had no concept of what was going on, but I was playing it, so you know, things happen, and then I get points, and then you know, they'd post leaderboards. I remember every like week or so of like who was doing the best in school and whatnot, and I always remember I was like in the bottom 5 or something like this, and I basically had no concept of why I was in the bottom 5. I was like, why am I doing so badly? I have no idea. Like, people are just getting lucky, you know, it's just a probability game. Oh well, who cares? It just is what it is. Oh, that's not what I meant to buy. I meant to buy 7 flowers. I was just like, oh, you know, just this is luck of a draw or whatever. And then so yeah, I don't know if I came last, but I came very near the bottom because I had basically no idea what on earth I was doing, and never bothered to learn. And it wasn't until the next year came round, like I don't know, we finished that year, probably came like second last or something, probably beating out maybe some other clueless person who had no idea what was going on. So I was essentially just taking names at random because I also didn't know any footballers. The only footballer I knew would be Wayne. I don't know why we bought so many things when we didn't need to. I thought for some reason we had the purchasing one. Even then we wouldn't need to purchase things because we got Sahara visiting. The only footballer I knew was like Wayne Rooney at that time, I think. I remember we had a morning assembly about it, a morning assembly just being like a meeting between all the years. It happens like once or twice a week. And the principal, the headmaster, or whatever, like called up one of the boys in some other year, and they I can't remember what they talked about, but then the headmaster asked the kid, oh, the fancy league starting, is that, are you going to put Wayne Rooney in your team? And he went, yeah, something like that. So I was just like, sure, I'll put Wayne Rooney in my team. I don't know. I just find it hilarious that I participated in this entire thing without even the concept that it was actually something that happened in real life. Like, I had no concept of Premier League, you know? No, like, I had never been introduced to it when I was younger. I had no idea it was a thing, and I had no idea how scoring was based off it. So it wasn't until the next year, I think, I participated in it again, and this time they gave out like a stress board or something instead of a hacky sack, and I did it because most of my other classmates were doing it this time, and I think I was like the only person in year 2 to actually do it for some reason. I guess most of them didn't actually realise what it was, but in year 3, there was a girl who joined our school. She was basically a huge football fan. She knew basically what was going on, and I was good friends with her, and I think we probably ended up having a conversation with it at some point, and you know, this time it was online rather than being, well, it might have been online the first time as well. I just didn't, you know, we didn't really use a computer for that sort of thing because I didn't really understand what it was. But this time it was all online, so you could see other people's teams and that sort of thing. And I talked to her a lot because, you know, we were good friends. And she was like, your team is terrible. What are you doing? Like, I remember one of the people I chose was like Peter Check, is that his name? And he had like a head injury or something that entire season, so he was literally earning me 0 points, and I had no idea because I didn't follow it, because still at the time I didn't realise it was actually based off reality or something. I remember talking to her about it and being like, what are you talking about? And then I remember she basically was like, alright, I'm going to help you out so you don't do so badly, and she basically gave me like a little list with things written down on it and being like, this is what you should do, like change these people out for these people, I don't know why you chose these people, and like blah 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 blah. And I remember she was like explaining it to me, and I was just basically going like, I have no idea what's going on. It's like, how does she have all this information about like what is a random simulation? And then at some point, and I don't know if it was during that year or later that year, but I followed her advice or whatever. I took out, is his name Peter Check? I feel like his name is Peter Check, but I'm not actually sure anymore. But I took out a guy with a head injury and put in some other random person. I basically followed instructions, and I didn't come last. I came somewhere in the middle of the school, which was honestly all thanks to her, because I was basically not doing anything. So shout out to you if you if that is you. She's not going to be watching this video. That'd be insane, because I haven't spoken to her for many years. But it was just like, but all that time she spent just like trying to explain to me what I was doing wrong. It was fancy football. And I was like, what are you talking about? How do you have any information about this? Because in my mind it was just a totally random like thing. It was just like essentially the same as like not even the same as horse racing, like simulated horse racing. It was basically a load of dice rolls in a row. And I was like, how do you know who these people are? And it never clocked in my head that these were actual people. And it was based off an actual thing. I just thought Wayne Rooney, despite the fact Wayne Rooney was one of the options you could choose, I'd be like, oh, it's just like a partnership with Wayne Rooney or something, I don't know. Like he's just one of the people in here. It's always the most hilarious thing to think back on. Because, to be fair, you know, my parents weren't going to explain to me. Fancy football, you know, was not a thing in China or whatever, so they have no concept of what I was doing. They were just like, oh, you want to sign up for this thing that the school's doing for fun? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, and they were probably like, sure, why not? And I signed up for it. It's like, they can't really help me because obviously they don't follow football or anything like that, and I just had no concept of what was going on the entire time. It's hilarious to think back on. Maybe you don't find it as funny as I do, but I find it hilarious. Just the utter cluelessness I had for the entire situation. So thank you to my old friend for, like, I remember she did really well. She was like in the top 5 or something in the school, I think. Like her name got called out in assembly for being like the youngest person like in the top 5, because most of the people who did it were like in the year 6, year 5, which are like the top 2 years in primary school, aka elementary school. What should we customize? Bugnet, I guess. And she was like the youngest person in the top 10 or something, by a long shot. She was like the only person in year 3 within the top like half of a year or something like that. Some crazy thing. It was wild. So I remember they read out like the team standings and that sort of thing, and I basically had no idea what was going on. Every time I think back to it, it gets funnier. It's just like I have no clue what on earth you're talking about. I forgot to craft the coconuts. I was like, I have no clue what you're talking about. What is this leaderboard? And I don't understand why I'm always on the bottom of it. It's so funny. It's so funny. Like I got to imagine it from her perspective. She's like a soccer fanatic. Well, I'm not sure she still is. I assume she is. She loved football, you know. There's like I was one of her close, probably a really close friend of her. I'm not gonna say I was her closest friend. That's probably a bit, well, I don't know particularly, but we're very good friends. And she was just like, oh, you know, my friend Dear, she's signing up to do fancy football as well. Let's see how her team's doing. She just looks at my team, and I have like 1 injured player, 2 random substitutes, and just hodgepodge of random combinations. She just looks at it and be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I don't know. Is there any strategy involved? As I now know, there is strategy involved, and I've had I suppose run into fancy football like elements. Oh, not fancy football. I still don't know nothing about football. I have no idea who's even in the Premier League, to be honest. I'm not sure I could even name a single player in the Premier League right now, and I'm not going to try because that would just be embarrassing, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I've had it fancy League of Legends. There have been official times in the past where Riot have done these fancy LCS things, as they called it, where you can pick your players and do the LCS things. Of course, the times it started were kind of the seasons after I really followed competitive league anymore. I think it started around season 5 or something, and I basically stopped around season 3 watching competitive league because I don't care anymore, I suppose, and to a certain degree. I don't care about I suppose that sort of high level competitive aspect of it. I sort of just do whatever. I remember just like doing stuff in it, and again, at least this time I suppose it's a bit better because I had a concept of exactly what I was doing. I knew theoretically me choosing this player is me betting on them doing well, getting a load of kills, deaths, or not associations, assists. So that's a completely different word. In this context, and I had an idea and understanding of what the points actually meant. It was just wild. Because it was still semi-random, so still a lot of the time I was just like, okay, I know all these teams, and I know some of the players have no concept of who's good or not, so I sort of almost ended up randomly picking. You might be like, did you win in your group of friends? No, I don't think I did. I think I came, I don't know when I came. I assume I came like 3rd or something. I did pretty well one of the times, and the other times I did less well, I assume. I honestly have no concept of what I do. I don't like micromanage. I'm not sure micromanage is the right word. I don't manage these sort of things. I just sort of participated because you needed 8 players. I remember at the time, and I was sort of like filling out space, if anything. And I participated, being like, I don't know who this player is. I guess I'll choose this player. I guess I'll choose this player. I guess I'll choose this player. And I sort of just like coast my way to the end. And I do, okay, I have no team loyalty. So I think what I did, like the most recent time we did, because right, I haven't done it. What fish is this? Officially, within the past couple of years or something. But we had like this third party company who decided to run it. We do have enough fruits. We need to remember to actually talk to Sahara at some point. I think we'll sell this stuff. Sell all this stuff, and then we all will talk to Sahara and actually get the rugs and carpets from them. But yeah, I think I just literally chose the top rated player. Like the top predicted player every single time in the time we did it with this third party thing. I think that might be the time I came 3rd or something like that. Or maybe I came like 4th, I don't know. I didn't do too badly for someone who basically had no clue what was going on. So that was pretty fun. Because I have no team loyalty or that sort of thing or anything like that, I don't really care which characters, and not characters, that kind of makes them sound like not real, which players I picked, I suppose. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to pick all of TSM because, they're my boys or something like that. I'm just like, I don't know who these people are in the first place. I'm going to pick whoever mathematically is predicted to do the best. And often worked, Although it only worked mildly well because it meant I wasn't, I suppose, taking any risks or anything like that. I wasn't following the scene, so I never substituted out my players if one of them were doing particularly badly or doing particularly well. In another life, there's a me who decided to look into what was going on in fantasy football and got swept up in enjoying soccer and all that sort of thing, and planned my team and didn't have Peter Crouch in for multiple weeks when he was earning me 0 points because he had it wasn't Peter Crouch. Peter Crouch is not a goalkeeper. I remember he was a goalkeeper. Peter. Check. Former professional footballer, Chelsea, as a goaltender for Guildford Phoenix. He was in Chelsea FC under 23. Hold on. Is this him? I remember, yeah, he's got the helmet on, but I swear he had like a skull injury or something. Greatest goalkeepers in history. There you go. Hold on. Control F. Injury. Head injury. What year was this? It matches up 2006. That sounds about right. I guess that would be year 4 for me then, instead of year 3. I don't really recall. But I suppose in the end of it, isn't it just I had fun with it, which is the most important part. Even though I basically had no clue what was going on, I was still enjoying what I was doing, despite the fact I wasn't really participating, I suppose, in the first place. Diplo chest, brachio chest. Keep these things up in here. Up in here. I said up in here. It's just weird to think about, isn't it? What would I participate in nowadays if it was a fantasy something? Fantasy league or whatever. Like, the problem is, the only thing I kind of follow is video games, of course, but I don't follow competitive video games. There was nothing really I could do any fantasy league going-ons. Should we see how my pick'ems are actually doing in League of Legends right now? Pick'ems, League of Legends. I don't even remember what I picked. or who I put in what order. Matches. I've got 17 points. Is that good? That's probably not good. I can't imagine it's good. Nope. I've got a lot of X's on my predictions. I'm in. I'm in tier 7 out of 10, I suppose. Tier 1, Baron Asher, 161. 161 people in it. Oh yeah, but basically there's a prize for this League of Legends stuff. If you manage to predict every single thing correctly, you get maximum points basically at the end. You'll get a grand prize or something. There's only 161 people who've so far predicted everything correctly, and we haven't even got to knockout stages. We haven't even finished one of the groups. I think one of the group stages is going on currently, right now, as we speak. So the fact we have so few people getting a perfect score thus far is sort of a sign when I don't think anyone's going to get a perfect pick'ems this year. Oh, another Nook Mile mission. Another Nook Mile. Whatchamacallit? I can't speak. You know what I mean. Ticket we must get. We should catch 4 bugs before we go sell some stuff. But yeah, I don't know. What would be a cool fancy football thing? Not fancy football, but fancy league thing. A fancy league that I would partake in. That is difficult. Like, it would have to be, like... I don't know. I just don't think it's for me, I guess, in the end. There's nothing I'd follow that really make... Like, League of Legends is the closest thing, and even then, I don't really care about it. I follow Zero Sports, only, like, checking out fencing and archery during the Olympics sometimes. I didn't even check them out this year, to be perfectly honest. I checked out one of the fencing matches, I don't remember which one, I think, but it's gone from my memory. I checked out a bit of skateboarding, to be fair, because it was new. Yeah, I guess just like a fancy league sort of thing just isn't for me, which is fair enough. Now, if we had like fancies and like high fantasy, or that's what we want. Medieval fantasy, I don't know. You know, like D&D style. But that's just a play on words, isn't it? It doesn't really have any substance to it. You can't just say that without any meaning. Otherwise, it's all meaningless. How many bugs have we got? 3? 3, we need 2 more. Do we 2 spaces in our inventory? No, we don't. Okay, get out of it, rice grasshopper, because I believe a paper cut butterfly is worth 1,000 bells. You might be like, why do you remember that? I don't know. Catchy. Yeah, what else about Fancy League? Do I have any more anecdotes on Fancy League I remember? I remember them giving out like the stress ball thing. Oh, you know what? The hacky sack in the first year I did it. I remember the same students who were in the year above who came down to our year to talk about it and gave me the hacky sack or whatever. They were like, oh, you know, this... Like, you know, knocked on a classroom door. I can't remember what we were doing. Probably just, you know, childish things, seeing as we're in year 2. You're like, can we talk today? We're here to give her the thing for Fancy League. And I was like, cool. And they, you know, I can't remember. I feel like I have the memory, sort of them talking to me, like, talking to me mildly about fancy or life football or things I had to do. And I was sort of just like, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm just going to, like, nod. Smile and wave, boys. That sort of thing. Anyway, because I had no idea what was going on. But they gave me a hacky sack. It was a black and white hacky sack. I didn't even know what a hacky sack was, which is probably one of the funniest things in the end. I had no idea. Sorry, at the time what a hacky sack was, how you play with it, what it's used for. I just was like, oh, it's a toy thing. I want it, and I remember it was black and white, and it was like it has like the same sort of stitching on it, like a tennis ball, I guess. I mean, I guess a tennis ball isn't really stitching, but you know what I mean. It's got like that Pringle shaped thing around it. Along that sort of thing. Let's see what I want to do. What was I going to do? I was going to go talk to Sahara. Actually, you know what? Let's get the Nook Mile ticket first, because there's a possibility that we get the 5,000 bells. So, I was getting some Discord messages, seeing if it was important. That required my replying, and it seems like no. Yeah, what was I saying? I forgot. And yeah, the next year they gave out these like stressful things, which I will say they weren't particularly good. I was almost mildly disappointed. I was like, oh, that's not as cool as getting a hacky sack, which I'd never used. I remember it sat like in the corner of the room on top of like a plastic box in my old bedroom, which is a very small bedroom, by the way. by choice, by the way. It wasn't like my parents were like, you're going to have a tiny bedroom. I was like, I want this tiny room as my bedroom. And my parents were like, you sure? And I was like, yes. And then I had it. But yeah, I remember just like sat in the corner of my room. I was sort of just like, oh, you know, what do I do with it? so I never learned how to use it. Now I know, of course, you do some like, you keep your uppies with it, you like kick it around, you like catch it in your ankle, your elbow, your head, roll it around, blah, blah, blah. Can I do it? Nope. Never tried. Probably never will. It's not really the sort of thing I suppose I do. I just wanted it, I suppose, in the end. I think I thought it was a juggling ball, perhaps. Because this must have been after we had, I talked about this a lot, but like the circus workshop we had back in school, where we just like learn quote how to juggle and how to do things like spinning plates, etc., whatever. And I remember I talked about this before, like juggling sort of thing. I bought, what did I buy from them? I bought a peacock feather. I remember that. I bought a peacock feather, which is meant to like practice like your balancing skills or something. I don't think it's an actual peacock feather. I think it's a plastic like replica, but it's meant to be like, that's how you practice like balancing like a stick on the end of your finger and get the muscle memory for it, and then you can do it with a spinning plate. I wanted to buy a spinning plate. I think what we ended up doing is we ended up getting a spinning plate from like one of my from like a workplace event or something, like a workplace fair, family fair. And we bought some. I can't remember. We ended up with some anyway, which by the way I could never figure out how to do. It wasn't until later in life. I don't know how I figured out. I don't know when I actually figured out how to do the spinning plate thing, but I basically I can sort of do it now. The reason I found out I could do it is because for some reason we had another circus workshop when I was looking at like universities to join. There's this thing I could join called a Head Start course where I participated in it, and then like one of the like recreational things we did on that Head Start course was a circus workshop, which is just weird and also not at all relevant to like anything I did in university. But sorry, I don't want to brag. I want a flooring. No, Sahara. And there was like the spinning, like we all rotated around different parts of the circus workshop thing, and it was just like one of them was a spinning plate thing. It was like, I think I know how to do this, and then I did, and then you know I tried a few times and failed a few times, and then I did it, and I remember thinking at the time being like, when did I learn how to do this? Because I remember we had it back then, but like I didn't know what the technique was, and I couldn't remember what they taught us back in that circus workshop. So like I never learned how to do it, but I did learn how to juggle 3 like cloth things. But I didn't learn how to juggle balls until much later in life in secondary school. But that's a story for another time, I suppose, when we talk about juggling. Wait, I think I already talked about juggling. Now I think about it. In one of my previous Animal Crossing records. Like the record show, I suppose. In one of my previous recordings. That's the word I wanted. For Animal Crossing. It's probably called like juggling or something. I don't know. I talked about so many things now. It all gets messed up. It all gets... it all takes up real estate in my mind, which could be better used as something else, but for some reason, I have a distinct memory of it. But yeah, this seems like a reasonable place to sort of round up this episode. Let's see if we got any Sahara tickets, which we need to give in to Sahara. No, we've only got 3. We've got 14 Nook Mile tickets saved up. You know what's interesting? I wonder if you can find villagers on Captain's Island. I also just realised, I remember in the trailer, it was just like, oh, it cost 1,000 Nook Mile points, I suppose, to go to Captain Island. And I was like, wow, that's expensive. Now I think about it, a normal one costs 2,000, doesn't it? So it's, in fact, half price. I wonder if you can find villagers over there, because then it'd be even cheaper to go villager hopping. Yikes. Hey, you know how some besties have a secret handshake? I was thinking, what if we had that, but a special greeting instead? I'm all for it, because we don't have a special greeting yet. Why don't we go... let's do it something to... What are we talking about? Fancy League? Let's go... Let's just do let's go. I don't know. Let's space go. So something hyped up like that, you know? Which I think a few people like. Oh, nice. I like where your head's at. Let's go. That works for you? I think it's perfect. Probably shouldn't have put the exclamation mark in, but whatever. Let's go, full stop. That's not how you punctuate things. Phoebe, what are you on about? Yeah, I think we'll just round this episode up here. I don't know. Has it gone off the rails? Not really. It's just weird. So fancy football, fancy league, I suppose. Tell me about it. Anyway, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join the Dear Darling Discord, follow me on Twitter down below. Hope we can see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.